Nancy Pelosi doesn't really care for United States people of the United States either. She just cares for her own career advancement and the stock portfolio of her and her husband. And she is doing, because for her it's a cost-free way of doing
Yes.
grandstanding. Oh, I'm on this Asia trip tour. I stood up to the tyrants of China. Look at me. And
Yes.
and this is a very cheap, easy way for her to appeal to a certain voter base. And that's what politicians do in a liberal democracy. But damn the consequences. Nancy Pelosi doesn't have to personally bear the consequences of a shooting war between United States and China. She's 82. She's never gonna get drafted. and, and so this is what we face today. The problem is in US, despite it being called a democracy, average people like us, we don't really have a voice except on the internet, on the YouTube, to really calling out these kind of crazy stunts by our politicians. And the Xiangyu, you want to jump in so I don't go on ranting too much.
That was a pretty good rant. You should continue. So I figured a better place to jump in. I was too caught up in the rant.
I mean, after a while, I sound the same. These damn useless politicians getting us in trouble again and again.
Seriously.
This is not necessary. This is, if it wasn't for the Nancy Pelosi visit, the cross-strait relationship can continue. There's trade right now. There's 40% of Taiwan's exports goes to mainland China. Is it 40 or 60%? Somebody can cross-check my data. But it doesn't have to. This tension does not have to happen. People might say, oh, China doesn't have to. China should chill out. Shouldn't. No. This is a sovereignty issue. You don't understand. China has a particular experience with foreign power imposing their will on China, on Chinese sovereignty and Chinese territory. This is not something they are willing to concede. Right, and they already have a very clearly defined red line. They publish it out again and again. Say Taiwan is a red line. Do not overstep it. Right now, people like Pelosi felt, by overstepping, this is a cheap way for me to gain some political capital, and so damn the consequences. That's
with the GOP too. I mean, this is look. The Democrats are going to go wherever Pelosi goes. We saw Ro Khanna play lapdog to Pelosi, say on CNN, and just be like, "Oh, how I respect Pelosi. How dare China, have any kind of say about what Pelosi does?" So we already know the Democrats. They're just going to do whatever Pelosi does. They don't. There's no opposition. Even when Biden finds the strength, after getting COVID twice and barely being able to talk anyway, but he's like, oh, maybe she shouldn't go, but I haven't talked to her. Why would I talk to her? I don't know. That Congress is like a separate branch, all that garbage. But the Democrats are just going to go where she goes, because she is, if not one of the most top three, she is maybe the most powerful Democrat in Washington. But the GOP, to me, and this is what the Democrats have been doing for so long, building this Big Tent. They want more influence among the GOP base. It's a complete miscalculation politically, but they think that if people like Kevin McCarthy, Mike Pompeo, if people like that swoon over what Pelosi does, then somehow it'll help them electorally. It's a huge miscalculation. It's not really going to boost Pelosi's stock, or it might boost her stocks, but it won't boost the Democratic Party stock in 2024, because no matter how anti-China public opinion gets in the United States, a lot of that is just based on rhetoric. It's just constant media, intense pressure and propaganda. It doesn't really influence the polls. People don't go and vote for how much they dislike China. They most of the times they're not thinking about it until they're asked about it directly, like very misleading, very directed polls. So people aren't going to vote for that, but nonetheless they do it anyway, because it's all about the donors, and that's what we're getting. That's what we're really getting into here. Is we're getting into donors. We're getting into the military-industrial complex. We're getting to finance, big finance. they have a lot invested in this big military buildup, this new Cold War. A lot invested in it. But Xiangyu, if you want to jump in.
I think at this point, I mean, we could have our views on whether or not Taiwan is a part of China, but I think I mean, I'm pro reunification, but I think even at this point, I'm like even reaching out to like my pro separatist friends and saying, hey, these are the issues at hand. Would you like this? This is what's happening in geopolitics. This is what's happening economically. We need to take this, especially the people in Taiwan. We need to take this very seriously, especially with nowadays, they have that. I talked about the echo chamber set up by Tsai Ing-wen, like the FTV, the YouTubers and all that, and opposition voices that get too big right now in Taiwan just like get vilified. Like for example, Han Kuo-yu, the former leader candidate for leader in 2020, he had quite a bit of a movement. He tried to emulate the sort of populist, but the sort of the populism of Trump, but it wasn't like a socialist populism. Like there's the various trends of populism, but it wasn't like a socialist populism, but it was a form of, hey, we want better relations with the mainland. So there is that sentiment among the people, but it's drowned out in the echo chamber. We need to spell these things out and kind of get these voices out there. They're not necessarily pro reunification voices, but they are anti-war voices, and we need to connect the dots between who is behind all of this saber rattling and pushing us into these sorts of situations. You have people like Vosh who will just put up the ROC flag like in the thing saying, yeah, we support Taiwan, yeah, fuck yeah. No, Vosh, you are just gonna play video games and make money off of something that and never face the consequences for the things that you push. Okay, Taiwan is where I consider home. It is the 23 or 24 million people there are my compatriots. They are also the compatriots. All of those like mainland Chinese people you hate, they might be annoyed at like the shit that like some Taiwanese people say online or they shit post or like all that shit. But at the end of the day, they're still family. When you push these politics that end up hurting the people in Taiwan, it doesn't benefit anybody. It benefits like, it doesn't benefit the people. It benefits certain, and not even the entire elite. There's plenty of elites in the US, like and capitalists who would love to have stable relations with China to like promote trade. Like for example, Elon Musk and his Tesla.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't even benefit the entirety of the ruling class. It's just like the one section of it. And are we going to bow down to them, or are we going to do our best to spread this message that we're spreading? You know what? At this point, you know what? You can be pro-separatist. Your opinion doesn't matter. You're not going to change politics in this regard. But, I
mean, disregard ideology. Let's look at realistic consequences of Pelosi's visit. Does it benefit the interests of majority of Americans? No. Does it benefit majority of Taiwanese people? Does it improve the welfare of Taiwanese people in any way? No. I mean, so why? Why is she visiting? Why do this crazy stuff that could bring potential devastation on a scale we have never seen before? It's like, somebody stop her right now. I mean, right now, so she is in Singapore and she's gonna visit Malaysia, and then she's gonna, on her itinerary, she's gonna visit South Korea and Japan. So Taiwan is on her way to fly over. Now the question is, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons she did not officially announce it. The question is, will she land? And then like I said, there's no. There's going to be guarantee a Chinese military response if she does land, and this is totally not necessary. I mean, like this is if you without this trip, life can just go on as before. But this is very dangerous. I mean, people probably don't realize how dangerous it is because they have this wool pull over their eyes by our corporate media. You know, I mean, a lot of people in Taiwan, because they think they got it covered by the U.S. umbrella. You know, the U.S. hegemony will protect them, right? But what they don't realize, the U.S. sees Taiwan no different than they see Ukraine. It's just a palm. You know, U.S. is willing to fight to the last Ukrainians against the Russians. Similarly, they're perfectly fine to fight China to the last Taiwanese on the island, right? And that ultimately does not benefit people of Taiwan.
Yeah.
It does not benefit people in the United States either, by the way. And this is the situation we're in right now.
And another question we should ask is the top brass in the military in Taiwan even willing to do this? Because they're ideologically, most of them are still like pretty like identify as Chinese, because just they were appointed like back when like Hao Bo-chun was like chief of general staff. So I have my questions about that too. The higher echelons of the military is still like the one area where the DPP doesn't have too much of a stronghold.
Yeah, and I wanted to, that's the thing I've been thinking about. I mean, Taiwan has a particular population, its size. It also has only a small section of that in the actual armed forces.
That's why in the last few years, you see a lot of U.S. think tank pieces crying about how Taiwan is not ready to defend itself, how Taiwan military is not ready to fight the Chinese the way that Americans prefer they would do, you know? And it's like, why would they do that? Why would they fight for you? Why would they fight for Rand? You know, why would they fight for the Heritage Foundation? It's like they have their own life to live, man. And like all these hawks, most of them are very far from the front line, and they will never get deployed to the front line. And they're the ones who are egging us on into this kind of crazy struggle. And this is. I share post a lot on my Twitter account, and people are like, "Oh, I'm very upset at how cavalier you are about this potential nuclear holocaust." You know what? My goal is scare the big Jesus out of you. You know, people should be scared. People should be scared and question, what the hell are we doing this? Why do we allow our politicians to do this? We shouldn't. You know, you should get off your ass and demand your politicians to stop and desist. Or not desist, desist. But yeah,
desist in the video game.
Pelosi is 82.
Cease and desist.